George Spanky McFarland's adult life was different from the cute kid we loved. He tried to move past Spanky's shadow in his later years, but it followed him. Spanky was helpful and annoying in his 30s and 40s. This made him stand out. However, this made him seem like the fat, cheap gang boss. Spanky lived in Grapevine, Texas, near Fort Worth in the 1980s and 1990s. He tried to live a normal life, but his Hollywood ties never dissolved. He was known at the grocery shop and Justin Boot Company, where he sold. He became local celebrity. Although famous, Spanky was simple to chat to. He answered his own phone, spoke to anyone, and sometimes attended events or interviews. It wasn't all fun and games. Spanky loves fighting and would sue anyone who used his name or image too much. His lawyers challenged bars, bands, and companies. One famous case is his lawsuit against Spanky and our gang, who he believed was profiting from his fame. He seemed unconcerned about the birthday present. He would fight for his name, which people valued. It startled some to see Spanky this way. The playful boy was now a tough, important man. Someone who struggled to define Spank was behind the cases and tough guy attitude. He said Hollywood only saw me as Spanky. Definitely didn't open doors. His wrath was real, but he accepted his fame. His meeting other celebs proved how much his character meant to people. Spanky met Michael Jackson in Texas in 1984 during his Thriller tour. Jackson, who wore Spanky's button, said he was influential. Think about it. Famous actor believes Spanky made him love acting. Spanky appeared pleased and perplexed. I guess I'd never have thought of our pictures as having any kind of effect on this rock and roll business. Fame doesn't always keep a job. Adult Spanky has numerous ups and downs. His jobs included military pilot, chauffeur, soft drink delivery, and cooking appliance salesperson. Though less glamorous than his Hollywood roles, these roles made him money. Soon after, he worked as a TV personality in Oklahoma and starred in a low-budget sci-fi western called The Aurora Encounter. Though bad, it was a brief return to acting. After becoming a Texas businessman, Spanky couldn't shake the performance inside him. His Hollywood jokes included, once a ham, always a ham. People lined up to meet the real Spanky at local gatherings where he became a regular. Despite his temper, he was our boy, just more wrinkles and a greater sense of humor. How did George McFarland become Spanky? His adventure began in Dallas, Texas, long before he visited Hollywood. George was born to Lee McFarland in Virginia Winifred on October 2, 1928. Parents adored Sonny so much they named him and couldn't stop showing off their lovely son. At 3 years old, George modeled kids' apparel for local department stores. It started little but enabled everything. Newspaper and outdoor ads for ice cream and breakfast cereals immediately included his photo. Our gang director Hal Roach received a Wonder Bread ad from George's aunt. George's huge start. Roach, always looking for new talent, sensed something special in the cute Texas child. George had a screen test in LA. George astonished everyone by making up a nursery rhyme in front of the camera during the test. Roach signed and renamed him Spanky in 1931. At 3 years old, George entered a world most youngsters his age couldn't comprehend. Our gang, subsequently renamed the Little Rascals, was a famous show. Spanky rapidly became the show's star. He led a motley crew of kids whose TV pranks made the nation chuckle. However, Spanky's Our Gang story is unique, filled of jokes, challenges, and life-changing experiences. What made this round-cheeked child star in one of Hollywood's most popular shows? What was life like for our group behind the scenes? Not every youngster in our group was Spanky. After joining the organization, he was the center of attention. He played the cranky youngster who didn't want to play the group's pranks in his early films. Perfect comedic timing landed him a lead role fast. By 1935, Spanky led the group and cooperated with Carl "Alfalfa" Switzer. The show's best moments came from Spanky's inventive plots and Alfalfa's off-key singing. At times, it was hard behind the scenes. Spanky and Alfalfa's dads often clashed over their son's screen time and salary. Despite their issues, their relationship grew legendary, and Spanky became our gang's face for years. Though naturally humorous, Spanky learned how to be funny from the game's finest. Laurel and Hardy worked at Hal Roach Studios, and Spanky often watched them. He imitated Stan Laurel's double takes and Oliver Hardy's furious motions excellently. As shown by his eye rolls and finger pointing at adults, they've affected Spanky. He had great comedic talent for his age. Our gang knew him beyond shorts. The business attempted to make full-length pictures with General Spanky in 1936. A Civil War story didn't intrigue people enough to care about Spanky's lone main role in a full-length film. Critics said it was overly emotional. The film's box office was poor. The Our Gang short films continued into the late 1930s, but Spanky was always the star. Working on Our Gang was Spanky's life. He appeared in 95 of 121 short films and 14 features filmed there. Not everything was fun and games. The studio worked hard to make the youngsters appear natural on TV despite extensive scene planning. To ensure natural reactions, Robert McGowan and other directors used megaphones to guide the kids and walk them through parts before filming. The scripts were loose because they allowed a lot of latitude. Our group stood out because of its variety, especially during a time of widespread U.S. prejudice. That the show allowed black and white kids to play equally was important at the time. Spanky made lasting friendships with co-stars Matthew Beard Stymie and Billy Thomas Buckwheat. Although certain race jokes have been condemned since then, many cast members think the show was ahead of its time. The group was close, yet there was always pressure to succeed. In his teens, Spanky declared he was tired of playing. They worked hard hours and received a lot of attention as child stars. He briefly quit our organization in 1938 to tour as a public figure. He returned when MGM took over the show. MGM's gang didn't have the pleasure of the earlier movies, and even Spanky couldn't restore it. He last appeared on the show at 14 in 1942. Spanky represented our gang for over a decade. His departure from the show ended an era for him in Hollywood. The boy with the quick wit and expressive face people loved had grown up. What happened after Spanky left our group? After childhood fame, how did he survive? Leaving our company was like leaving a stage into a dark, weird room for George Spanky McFarland. He wasn't the charming star whose pranks pleased the world after Hollywood's brilliant lights went out. George was simply a young man trying to fit in a world that only viewed him as Spanky. Spanky joined the U.S. in 1952 at 24. The Air Force. It offered him structure and purpose away from the cameras and cheers. After returning to normal, he discovered how much he had become a type. Hollywood no longer wanted him. The business world saw him as a relic of our gang, not a promising young guy. But Spanky didn't like to do nothing. He dressed for work and worked monotonous jobs that were nothing like his childhood ones. He worked at a hamburger stand, a soft drink plant, and a popsicle factory. Every task was different from his days on set, where everything was planned and executed. He now faced real-world challenges and uncertainty. Spanky returned to show business in the mid-1950s, although on a lower scale. He hosted The Spanky Show on Oklahoma's KOTV for youngsters, featuring special guests, live crowds, and old little rascal shorts. Spanky may meet his childhood fans. It seemed like a fresh start, honoring his past while creating something new. However, artistic conflicts with the station's leaders made it difficult to create the show he wanted. In 1960, he was hopeless and ready to move on. Spanky learned several things afterward. He managed restaurants and bars, sold wine, and even sold furniture and equipment. Philco Ford Corporation promoted him to National Sales Training Head, one of his most critical jobs. The adjustment from Hollywood's darling was hard, but Spanky was a good socialite. His salesmanship expertise. Spanky worked routine jobs but was always in the spotlight. He often appeared on chat shows alongside Darla Hood and Billy Buckwheat Thomas, who were in our gang. It was painful to see how far they'd come from their young glory during these reunions. In the 1980s, Spanky combined his commercial sense with his passion of the past. He became general manager of the old movie showing Nostalgia Channel. He discussed his time in our group. He spoke at gatherings across the country and shared behind-the-scenes stories. He used his newfound affection for Spanky to connect with the millions of others who loved the Little Rascals. Spanky loved charity golf tournaments during this time. The Namesake Classic, a 16-year golf event in Marion, Indiana, was more than just a way to make money. They let Spanky meet new people, serve others, and enjoy company. Spanky was a college campus favorite. Youngsters eagerly awaited his statements on our group. Fans regularly asked detailed inquiries regarding episodes or scenes during Quanda gatherings. Due to his youth, Spanky didn't remember much, but he was good at making up hilarious stories that others adored. He created new memories for his buddies as well as recalling them. Spanky never quit working, but he slowed down with time. He kept appearing for interviews and gushing about how much he loved the show that impacted his upbringing. Despite finding new ways to engage with people, his trip was almost over. In April 1993, Spanky was honored a few months before his death. His handprints are on Chicago's Lowe's Theater Wall of Fame. Respect was shown for someone who had lived decades in the shadow of his boyhood renown. To say his Hollywood legacy was as indelible as his fingerprints. The following month, Spanky made his last TV cameo in Cheers' Woody Gets an Election. He portrayed himself, and his blend of comedy and humility demonstrated how well he could embrace his image. But Spanky's health was deteriorating behind the scenes. On June 30th, 1993, horrible things happened. Keller, Texas, resident Spanky fainted. They rushed him unconscious to Grapevine's Baylor Medical Center, but couldn't save him. He died within an hour of arriving. His age was 64. The official cause of death was a heart attack. However, some sources suggest aneurysm. The loss devastated fans, relatives, and friends. Spanky and Doris lived happily in Keller from 1971. He married in 1955. They had 3 children: Vern Emmett, Betsy, and George Gregory. After his 1949 marriage to Paula Jean Wilkinson, Spanky formed a stable family with Doris. She supported him through good times, bad times, restarts, and problems until his death. In 1993, the McFarland family planned a sad yet humorous surprise for him. Spanky never knew he was given a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. His wife planned to announce the surprise by attending the California wedding. The star was revealed after his February 1st, 1994, death at 7095 Hollywood Boulevard. Spanky's importance is shown by its proximity to Irving Berlin and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. Stars. He remains one of two Our Gang stars, along with Jackie Cooper to garner attention. Spanky influenced more than movies. He volunteered and donated to the Leukemia Society of America and Cook Children's Medical Center. His fame helped him organize a 16-year Marion, Indiana, charity golf tournament to improve things. His final present was personal, even after his death. Spanky's organ and tissue donations helped almost a dozen people. On July 3, 1993, in the First United Methodist Church of Fort Worth, many people said goodbye to Spanky, who touched many lives. For someone so devoted to Texas, his ashes would be buried in Austin's Texas State Cemetery. I appreciate Spanky's story because it displays his strength, charisma, and connection. After his death, his legacy goes on. What did generations appreciate about this boy-turned-man? Spanky McFarland's humor, persistence, and fun made him famous.